Live from New Delhi, you're watching DDI Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Ollie Barrett. Hi Ollie, good to have you with us.
Hello Tanvi, it's 12:30 p.m. here in London, 1:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next half hour, Putin in Asia, a new government in South Africa, and the Olympic torch gets closer to the Paris Games. First, the headlines.
Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Un vow to aid each other if either country is attacked. Pentagon concerned by deepening Russia-North Korea cooperation. Cyril Ramaphosa is sworn in for a second term as South African president in Pretoria. A group of US lawmakers meet Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama in India's Dharamshala, warned China to not influence the choice of his successor. And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Nalanda University's new campus in Rajgir in the eastern state of Bihar, says Nalanda is a symbol of India's academic heritage and its rejuvenation symbolizes the might of emerging India. Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong Un held talks in Pyongyang on Wednesday during a state visit by the Russian leader to North Korea in 24 years. Putin's advisers said on Wednesday that in the one-on-one format, the two leaders intended to discuss the most important and most sensitive issues. Large groups of North Koreans gathered to welcome the two leaders at the event. This is Putin's first visit to the North Korean capital in 24 years, and experts believe that his visit has the potential to drastically alter decades' worth of relations between Russia and North Korea at a time when both nations are isolated internationally.
We highly appreciate your consistent and unwavering support for ASEAN policy, including the Ukrainian strand. I am referring to our fight against the hegemonic policy imposed for decades, the imperialist policy of the United States and its satellites against the Russian Federation.
The government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea expresses full support and solidarity with the Russian government, army and people in carrying out a special military operation in Ukraine to protect their sovereignty, security interests as well as territorial integrity.
Russia and North Korea has concluded in a new agreement to provide mutual help in the case of what is being called aggression. The two leaders signed an agreement deepening their military cooperation. The Mutual Defense Pact pledged to help each other, with the North's Kim Jong Un calling it an alliance. DD India's Chris Gilbert reports on the visit from Tokyo.
The introduction of the mutual assist concept into the relationship between North Korea and Pyongyang, experts say, is throwing up in the air how the US and aligned countries may approach relations and dealings with Russia and North Korea in the future, saying that instead of dealing with one nuclear-armed country, they're in fact now dealing with two. For Pyongyang, they say that this means potentially that, it has always said that it wants to defend itself against what it perceives as Western aggression. And this new agreement effectively puts a little bit more muscle in its corner. It has Russia behind it, and for Russia, what it effectively means is that any conflict that may arise on its western front from here could potentially in the future, should North Korea come to its assistance, open up an eastern front as well in the Indo-Pacific. This causes a number of headaches. Early analysis is saying for US-aligned countries such as Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. But other details in this new strategic partnership are yet to be unveiled, and no doubt will be in the coming days and weeks. Of concern still to the US and aligned countries are allegations and suspicions that North Korea is supplying munitions to Russia to continue on its long-running conflict in Ukraine that effectively undermines US-led efforts to choke Russia of the resources that it needs to continue the war. Now, Russia is vowing that it is not breaching any sanctions and that Western countries have nothing to be concerned about, but the UN and NATO, amongst others, say that they have evidence from the battlefield in Ukraine that North Korea is indeed supplying munitions to Russia. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo reporting for DD India.
The United States has voiced concerns about closer ties between Russia and North Korea, saying the deepening cooperation between the two countries is of concern for anyone that's interested in maintaining peace and stability in the Korean Peninsula.
The deepening cooperation between Russia and the DPRK is something that should be of concern, especially to anyone that's interested in maintaining peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula, but also supporting the people of Ukraine as they continue to fight against Russian aggression. And so, of course, you're well aware of DPRK providing ammunition and weapons to Russia that's been able to help them perpetuate their illegal and unprovoked war against the Ukrainian people. So it's something that we're going to continue to keep an eye on.
On to South Africa now. Cyril Ramaphosa has been sworn in for a new term as president at a ceremony in Pretoria on Wednesday. This came after his party, the African National Congress, ANC, struck a government coalition deal. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London. He takes it forward from me here, gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, a weakened mandate for the ANC, but a continuity of leadership here.
That's a good summary, Tanvi. Yes, South Africa's been putting on a display of pomp and ceremony with Cyril Ramaphosa taking oath as the country's president for a second term for him. But it will see his African National Congress sharing power with other parties after it lost its majority in parliament for the first time since 1994. African heads of state and dignitaries have gathered outside the Union buildings in Pretoria for the swearing-in ceremony. Ramaphosa will head a coalition with 5 other parties, including its longtime rivals, the Democratic Alliance. And Isaac Lucando is joining us now from Dar es Salaam for more on this. Isaac, this is an historic moment, no doubt, isn't it? And what agenda do we expect this coalition to pursue, and can the government hold together to deliver it?
Well, indeed, it is a historic moment for South Africa in that the leadership of the country is set to look a little bit different than it has for the last 30 years. There's been one party that has been in power. That party has been the ANC, the African National Congress, but now it is supposed to be sharing power with 4 other parties. And therein lies the challenge. In his address today, Cyril Ramaphosa expressed his agenda in that the agenda is to help the flailing economy of South Africa. And that will look like helping South Africans get more employment, deal with issues of crime and corruption. And that's no easy task, especially considering the kind of partners that it has. You have on the one hand the DA, the largest partner in this coalition that it's going into partnership with, differing in some areas in the past, but now they have to actually work together. So bringing those 5 partners to work together, therein lies the challenges. And we expect to see whether this will work in the next few weeks and months as the new cabinet is unveiled and they start tackling some of these pressing challenges. So, so to speak, South Africans have their fingers crossed to see whether the Cyril Ramaphosa and the unity government that is being formed in South Africa will be able to rise up to the challenge of staying on top as Africa's leading economy.
DD India's Isaac Lacando in Dar es Salaam. In France, the far-right National Rally Party is seen leading the first round of the forthcoming parliamentary election. Polls have it on 34% of votes, ahead of 22% for the left-wing Popular Front coalition, after he called a parliamentary vote in response to disappointing European election results. President Emmanuel Macron's centrist group is trailing in third in the polls. Well, National Rally leader Jordan Bardella says he hopes that France will keep providing support to Ukraine, but not in the form of sending ammunitions to the country. Bardella on Wednesday says that providing equipment will lead to escalation in Eastern Europe. The National Rally leader has been on a visit to the Eurosatory Defence exhibition near Paris. Bardella insists that Ukraine should be able to defend itself against Russia, and he says France should continue with its own rearmament efforts.
I wish for Ukraine to have at its disposal the ammunition and equipment it needs to hold the front, but my red line will not change, which is sending equipment that could have as a consequences the escalation of the situation in Eastern Europe, and so I don't plan to send especially long-range missile or other weapon that will allow Ukraine to strike Russian territory.
British inflation has returned to its 2% target in May for the first time in nearly 3 years. However, price pressures remain strong, meaning the Bank of England is considered to wait longer before it cuts interest rates. British Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt claims hitting that 2% target would never have happened under a Labour government, and he says difficult decisions have been taken by the ruling Conservatives over the past few years, including condemning public sector pay strikes, and says that those decisions have paid off. Israel's defense forces say they've approved operational plans for an offensive in Lebanon following recent intensification of cross-border fighting with Hezbollah. The Israeli military says the head of the IDF's Northern Command, Major General Ori Gordin, and the head of the Operations Directorate, Major General Oded Basiuk, have held a situational assessment and approved Lebanon battle plans. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the United States is still trying to bridge gaps in Gaza ceasefire talks. Blinken says Hamas has continued to add new conditions to its approval to a proposed agreement by President Biden several weeks ago. He made those remarks after a meeting with the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg.
I'll just remind everyone once again that the entire world came together behind the proposal that President Biden laid out a few weeks ago. The entire world, with one exception, and that was Hamas. Hamas came back with, after everyone else had said yes, including Israel, reconfirmed to me by Prime Minister Netanyahu when I was in Israel. Hamas came back with new conditions, new demands, including demands and conditions that actually went beyond what it had already previously accepted. So we're working to see if we can bridge the gaps that Hamas has now created by not saying yes to the proposal that everyone else had agreed to.
Now, travelling through France, the Olympic torch is passing through the Vaucluse region on Wednesday. Before that, Formula One driver Charles Leclerc carried the torch across the streets of Monaco on its journey across Alpes-Maritimes. Actress Halle Berry carried the Olympic torch to the red carpet of Cannes, and earlier, sea diver Alice Modolo brought the flame underwater during the ocean relay of the torch. The relay will close with the lighting of the Olympic cauldron at the opening ceremony of the Games. And in our DD India Global relay, I will hand the torch over to Tanvi.
Thank you very much, Ollie Barrett, joining us all from London. And it's football time in Germany as the country hosts the European Football Championship. Officials said that they were taking the aspect of security very seriously and are so far satisfied with the preparations. However, some incidents have occurred away from the pitch recently. And to find out about them, we are now joined by Thomas Sparrow from DW Berlin. Hi, Thomas. First of all, tell us what's the atmosphere like in Germany with football fans there from all over Europe?
It's a festive atmosphere. There's no doubt about that in the different cities that are hosting the games. You can see fans from the different European countries that are taking part in the European Championship. This is a European Championship that was certainly awaited with great expectation here in Germany, with an expectation that it will go on peacefully, calmly, but also in a festive way for all the fans that are coming from different parts of Europe. It's also a European Championship that is being followed from other parts of the world. So it's not only something that is of interest here in Europe or to the countries that are taking part. And you see this interest, you see this festive atmosphere, for example, in the fan zones that have been built in the different cities that are hosting the matches. Here in Berlin, not far away from where we are standing, close to the iconic Brandenburg Gate, there's a fan zone that is attended by fans when there are different matches. So the atmosphere is certainly festive, but I would like to add that for many Germans at the same time, there is a little bit of concern about the security situation. Around half of Germans, according to a recent survey, stressed that they're worried about potential terror attacks here in the country. And a majority said that they were actually prepared to basically watch the matches at home instead of going to the fan zones. One reason being the security situation overall. However, security officials so far have stressed that they're satisfied with the overall security situation, even though there have been minor incidents not necessarily related directly to the football matches. But in any case, security officials are still very much vigilant and looking for potential threats.
Okay, Thomas, as you mentioned that a majority of Germans have said that they are not planning to go to the fan zones and would rather watch the games at home due to security concerns. If you could elaborate these incidents, how worried are Germans about potential attacks during the event?
Well, they are worried, but the main concern is actually in the fan zones. So the stadiums are normally rather safe. So you have tickets, obviously, for those attending. There are controls and checks before you enter the stadium. The situation is a little bit more fluid, if you want, in the fan zones. And there's a potential for more people to go to the fan zones, especially if there are important matches happening. So from the security perspective, guaranteeing security is probably a bigger challenge in those fan zones and in the cities than specifically in the stadiums. Now, if we look specifically at the stadiums, German officials have put in place not only these checks, but also the use of technology to, for example, detect drones or prevent drone attacks. In the fan zones, there are also checks and there are also controls. There's police presence. There's cooperation between German police and international police, so for police officers from other European countries. There are also checks at the German borders. So even already for those that are planning to come, they have to deal with an increased security operation. So you can clearly see that this security operation here in Germany has different phases. It has different interests. It had different priorities as well. But one of the main areas of concern, at least for officials here in Germany, specifically the fan zones, where many are going to gather, even though, as you said, there has been this survey stressing that many are actually going to watch the matches from home.
So yes, sporting action now shifting to Europe as Germany hosts the Euro Cup, and of course then we have the Paris Olympic Games. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thomas Sparrow joining us from DW headquarters in Berlin. Still to come on DD India Global. The Armory Plaza of Spain's Royal Palace is all decked up for an unusual celebration, the 10th anniversary of King Felipe's proclamation. And a look at the young filmmakers' artistic talents on display at the 18th Mumbai International Film Festival. Welcome back. You're watching DDI India Global. I'm Tanvi Taneja. More from Asia. A high-level US congressional delegation, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, met with spiritual leader Dalai Lama in India's picturesque Dharamshala. The trip comes days after Congress passed the Resolve Tibet bill that would become an act after US President Joe Biden's signature. The bill seeks China to start a dialogue with Tibetan leaders to find a solution to the dispute over the status and governance of Tibet. Speaking during a public reception in Dharamshala, the leader of the bipartisan delegation, Michael McCaul, who also chairs the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, said that they would not allow China to influence the choice of the successor of Dalai Lama. Meanwhile, the United States renewed a warning on Tuesday that it is obligated to defend its close treaty ally, the Philippines, a day after Filipino Navy personnel were injured and their supply boats damaged in one of the most serious confrontations between the Philippines and China in a disputed shoal in the South China Sea.
We're going to continue to stand with our Philippine allies. We condemn the escalatory and irresponsible actions by the PRC to deny the Philippines from executing a lawful maritime operation in the South China Sea. And as you've heard Secretary Austin and others say, the Philippines' rightful legal maritime claims must be protected.
China and the Philippines blamed each other for instigating Monday's hostilities in the Second Thomas Shoal, which has been occupied by a small Filipino Navy contingent aboard a grounded warship that has been closely watched by Chinese Coast Guard, Navy and suspected militia ships in a year-long territorial standoff. There is fear that the disputes, long regarded as an Asian flashpoint, could escalate and pit the United States and China against each other in a larger conflict. Staying in the region, Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te said that China was attempting to force the self-ruled island into submission, but that it would not bow down to the pressure. Lai's statements on Wednesday came just after the US agreed on a speeded-up arms package for an estimated $360 million. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory and has been stepping up military pressure against the island nation. China held 2 days of war games around the island shortly after Lai took office last month. On to India now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated Nalanda University's new campus in Rajgir in the eastern state of Bihar on Wednesday. Speaking at the inauguration ceremony, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that Nalanda is a symbol of India's academic heritage and vibrant cultural exchange.
नालंदा ये केवल नाम नहीं है, नालंदा एक पहचान है, एक सम्मान है, नालंदा एक मूल्य है, नालंदा एक मंत्र है, गौरव है, गाथा है, नालंदा है उद्घोष इस सत्य का कि आग की लपटों में पुस्तकें भले जल जाएं, लेकिन आग की लपटें ज्ञान को नहीं मिटा सकती.
Conceived as an international university under a joint collaboration between India and the East Asia Summit countries, the ceremony was also attended by External Affairs Minister of India S. Jaishankar, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and ambassadors of 17 countries. The university offers postgraduate and doctoral research courses. The Net Zero campus is located close to the ruins of the ancient Nalanda University. So ahead of the inauguration, Narendra Modi visited the ruins of the Nalanda University, which are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Established during the Gupta Empire era, its faculty members included renowned Buddhist scholars. And next we take a look at what else is making news around the world. The Armory Plaza of Spain's Royal Palace was decked up for an unusual celebration, the 10th anniversary of King Felipe's proclamation. Felipe succeeded the throne after his father and the then King Juan Carlos abdicated on royal scandal charges. Soaring temperatures turned the Hajj pilgrimage into a tragic experience. More than 550 pilgrims have been reported dead in Makkah due to heat-related illnesses as temperatures there crossed 50 degrees. While the numbers are suspected to rise, Egypt has reported 320 pilgrim deaths and Jordan so far has claimed 60 deaths due to heat. And on the 5th day of the Mumbai International Film Festival, a special package for the specially abled under Divyangjan will be screened. These films are Little Krishna, Jai Jagannath and The Crossover. There will also be a press conference by the jury of international competition today. DD India's Shama Mishra has more.
At the 18th Mumbai International Film Festival, adding a new dimension to the festival's offering, The Commandant's Shadow, directed by Daniela Walker, screened as the Mid-Fest film. The film is about auspicious Commander Rudolf Hoss's son Yerkin during his time living close to the infamous concentration camp during the Holocaust. Renowned wildlife filmmaker and cinematographer Alphonse Roy, while conducting a masterclass on the topic exploring the wilderness, Indian wildlife documentaries and conservation efforts, delve into the intricacies of creating documentaries about conservation initiatives and Indian wildlife.
One of the larger reasons behind moving into feature film was the times when I shot wildlife films, it was all shot on film. And India had only Doordarshan, the only television, which did not have the multiple.
This year, MIFF has provided a platform for student filmmakers to exhibit their talent to film connoisseurs and enthusiasts. A selection of students' film package was showcased at a session. More than 40 short films across India have been selected for screening. Another session to discuss on animation with the topic The Evolution of Animation Film and their enduring appeal to youth and grown-ups was organized. Ketan Mehta, Vaibhav Kumaresh, Mohammad Kherandish and Jackie Bagnani were the speakers.
It is time to reach out with our animation content and reach out to the whole world.
Award-winning wildlife filmmaker Subaya Nallamuthu, while addressing a press conference, said that new means like public-private partnership of funding documentary making should be explored. An open forum discussion on biographical documentaries versus biopics and other sessions were also part of MIFF today. Shama Mishra's report, DD India.
So that's all for this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. So that's it in this broadcast. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.